Good evening and happy Sunday, everybody. Want to just let you all know that we had our first meeting of the Moby Dick Book Club this afternoon. It was streamed live right here on this channel. So if you want to catch up with that, you certainly can. And I would just say that the discussion exceeded my expectations. I was expecting good things to happen, but my expectations were in fact exceeded. So let me know in the comments if you're interested in learning more about the Moby Dick Book Club. But the real news this week, kind of the news that made people scratch their heads and say, well, what took them so long, was the story about Archbishop Vigano being formally charged with schism. He was formally charged by the Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith with the canonical delict of schism. Now, Archbishop Vigano is an interesting case. Kind of at the turn of the century, he was Vatican official. I think he was at the Secretariat of State under Benedict XVI. And then he later moved on to become the nuncio. That's the ambassador, basically, the ambassador of the Holy See to the United States. And he retired, I think, in 2015 or 2016. And during that whole time, he was pretty standard. He was pretty well within the flock. He wasn't going out and doing anything outrageous at that time. It wasn't until 2018 that he really made a big splash. That was when all the McCarrick scandal was breaking in New York. And he came out and basically said people at the Vatican knew what was going on, but they didn't do anything about it. And so that was a pretty interesting claim right there. He certainly would have been in a position to know these things, so he was taken very seriously at that point. And then he just kept on talking. He just kept on talking about whatever it seemed good for him to be talking about. He became an ardent supporter of President Trump, which is an interesting place for an archbishop. Usually we're expected to stay a little bit above and outside of politics as a general rule, but he was being very chatty about that and started becoming increasingly anti-Francis, increasingly anti-Vatican II, and a bit of a conspiracy theorist. So by the time that you get to the events of this week, him being charged with schism, it's like, well, what took him so long? It's been a long time coming for this. He is, by any canon lawyer would tell you, he's refusing communion with the whole Roman Pontiff and the Apostolic See. It's not good, so it's about time this happened. But I want to defend Vatican II against Archbishop Vigano here, because I think in all of the not unimportant discussions and debates about liturgy, there are some things that are easily missed. And they're easily missed because there's a secret about Vatican II that hardly anybody knows and nobody ever talks about. And that is, nobody understood and implemented Vatican II better than canon lawyers. Canon lawyers are the top people to talk to about Vatican II because from about 1965 to 1983, they were all involved in a huge revision process, taking what had been implemented by Vatican II and thoughtfully writing that into law. So here I've got my handy dandy code of canon law. And I know you're probably not going to be able to read this, but when we come down here to the bottom of the page, every canon is going to have what's called the fonts, the fontes, right? And what you'll see in your average fontes is you'll see a reference to the 1917 Code of Canon Law, and then reference to other documents. And all over the place, absolutely filled to the brim in the fontes are Vatican II documents. Vatican II documents are all over the place. So when you study canon law, when you see some of the developments, extremely positive legal developments that happened in the practice of canon law that came about directly from Vatican II, you generally tend to have more positive feelings towards it. There's just a couple things that I want to point out to you. A lot of people wouldn't know, even good and faithful and somewhat nerdy Catholics have maybe never heard these things. Under the 1917 Code of Canon Law, bishops were required to ask the Holy See permission every 5 years for all sorts of faculties. These weren't extraordinary things. These were ordinary things. Basically, they had to ask the Holy See every 5 years for permission to do their jobs. Because of the, let's say, ecclesiology, the unfinished ecclesiology of Vatican I, things were very top-heavy in the church's law in those days. Everything was coming down from above, and the church had really lost the sense of the proper authority of the diocesan bishop and expression of subsidiarity in the life of the church, especially in its canon law. Vatican II helped restore that by adding the rest of the picture that was begun in Vatican I. Vatican I never finished, right? The first act of Vatican II was actually formally closing Vatican I. So, gave much more ordinary authority to the bishops on account of them holding their office of diocesan bishop rather than needing to ask the Pope every 5 years for that authority. And then a second thing, quick thing that I am very fond of in the new Code of Canon Law is requiring consultation. The Second Vatican Council called for new, we can call them organs of consultation, councils, these groups, and at certain points requiring at least consultation for doing certain things. So something like that would be in order to build or canonically erect a new parish, the bishop has to talk to the pastors in the area and the presbyteral council before he can go ahead and do that. It's a consultative vote, so the bishop still has the power to go through this, but he has to at least hear what other people are saying and make sure that there's a paper trail following after that. And these are just a couple of examples that I can come up with right off the top of my head. There's more to it than that, more to it that Vatican II gave to the church. And so while we can certainly debate about it, while we can certainly, certainly people have opinions, especially about how the liturgical reforms went. I think that just writing the whole thing off as modernist nonsense is not correct. And therefore, Archbishop Vigano is wrong about Vatican II. But what I'm not wrong about is welcoming our esteemed guests into the chat today. Hello, Sandy, hello. Emma, and Adam. How are you all doing?
Great.
Have I increased your appreciation of Vatican II?
I think so. I definitely I didn't have a super negative opinion of it after a couple of years back. My pastor actually recommended that I read a handful of some of the less involved documents, or maybe less just full of pages, I guess you could say. And it just seemed very kind of clear cut and not really any issues in the text itself. I mean, it seems like a lot of the things that people seem to have issues with is people like kind of taking their own ideas and then running with it and using their own excuses for stuff. But overall, I mean, the actual text seems to be pretty clear for what I've been exposed to.
Yeah. Oh, Dei Verbum. I didn't even talk about Dei Verbum at all, but that's just an excellent reconciliation of traditional doctrine with the scientific study of the Bible. Keeps everything in its right place as far as I'm concerned. And it's really not that long. So
right.
It's perfect.
That was one of the ones. I think it was that. And then was Humani Generis? Was that one of the other ones? Or was that from something else?
Well, that Humani Generis was about a decade before Vatican II.
Okay.
That was Pope Pius XII. Also a good read, also very relevant and worth checking out. You might be thinking of Dignitatis Humanae. No?
I think
Okay. All
that
right.
might have been that's what human dignity.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that might have been one of the other ones, but this was like 2 years ago. But
Yeah, I mean, you read these things, you're not going to have all of it up in your head, but you can tell people that you've at least read some of it, and
Hmm.
that can help justify your opinions. Yeah.
I don't know. I was already pretty pro Vatican II, to be honest.
I wasn't didn't feel like I needed to convince you particularly, but it's just good to get a few of these things on the record. People
Yeah.
might hear that
It was
I
interesting, though.
celebrate the Latin Mass and happen to be a fan of it, and yeah, it's just like the canon lawyers did it the best. Just gonna stand up for my guild there. There's some good legislation that came out of it. So, how's the new house, Emma?
It's good. Yeah, we're pretty much completely unpacked now, so that's nice. Yeah, kind of just settling in. I've got a lot of time off this summer, which has been nice.
Really
But yeah, I haven't
settled
made
in.
it here
That's
for a
good.
couple of weeks. I haven't been feeling great, so.
Oh well, I hope you keep on feeling better.
Mhm.
Sunday, if you need to take the Sunday to rest, just take it for rest, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Have you been? How's DC?
yeah. DC is so stinking hot. I made the mistake of looking at the weather
I can
in
imagine.
Fargo.
Oh
And
no.
they're just like having a perfect summer there, and it's been like 95 degrees every day here.
Yeah,
I
it's been
just feel
hot
like I'm
here
gonna melt,
too.
and just leave behind a plastic wrapper and a popsicle stick. But yeah, and these summer classes are just crazy. It's like I've been here 4 weeks, 3 weeks, I think. Yeah, 3 weeks, starting the fourth week here. Came here May 31st, and it's like, oh yeah, finals are on Thursday. It's
Oh
like,
wow.
boom. That was all of the classes in less than a month.
wow.
Do you have two blocks
I've
over the
taken two
summer?
classes. Yep. Two. So you end up taking 6 credits a month in this program while you're here in the summer.
Wow.
So this month it was law for consecrated life and American law for canonists. And the American law for canonists
boy.
class has just been an absolute mountain of reading. And
I
it's
bet.
like these legal students, they must just learn how to like skim the document for the main arguments and then just
I'm
take
pretty
notes.
sure that's what they do. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just haven't developed that skill yet because I don't know where all the important stuff is. But I'm a quick reader already, so
you can
doesn't
kind of
hurt
make it
quite as
work,
much,
but it's hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Colin was in
But it's
a like history of the Supreme Court class once, and they just read court cases the whole time, and he was like, I can't do this.
Yeah, just
but
being
not
able to outline the arguments quickly. Outline the arguments quickly. I mean, there's things that I can certainly like figure out how to skip because it's like you'll read the majority opinion, and the majority opinion will start off giving the facts of the case and then giving the law, and then you're going to read one of the dissenting opinions, and it's like, okay, they're going to start off with the facts of the case again. I just need to get down to the law bit where they're disagreeing. So, yeah. Yep. That's kind of what it's going on. I get a 4-day weekend over the 4th, so
that's nice.
Got that to look forward to.
Do they actually like celebrate the 4th interestingly in DC, or?
It's just a lot of fireworks. The metro's free that day. Last year I went to It was a Capitol Fourth. It was put on by PBS on the footsteps of the Capitol, and they had like Chicago. That's why I wanted to go, is because they had Chicago there. But they also had like the Go-Go's and Boys to Men, and there was a concert, and then a bunch of fireworks. Yeah, I'd have to check and see if there's any bands I'd actually want to see, because it was kind of a pain to get down there, and it was a big crowd, and we really weren't that close, and we kind of arrived late. So, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, and I was there with an Indian guy and a Nigerian guy, both priests, and fine men, but like they don't have the same patriotism necessarily.
Mhm.
I guess the Indians also have the experience of throwing off British rule, but I don't know, did they do it with as much flair and pizzazz as we did? I really don't think so. They certainly didn't do it as Americans. They did it as Indians, which is fine, and I wouldn't expect anything else. But yeah. So we'll see. It's just nice to not have to go to school the next day, because the fireworks go off until about 2 a.m. here.
Yeah. That would be nice.
Yeah. No school the next day. Oh. Yeah. You guys hear anything good at church today?
There was a lot of participation. That was good to see. The everyone just really kind of participating in the songs and liturgy and everything at the 10 a.m. mass. So that was really pleasant to enjoy. And we also have a couple of new priests at our. We also have a couple of new priests at our church. So we have a newly ordained one, and I got the pleasure of being able to be at the ordination mass, because
nice.
Local deacons was also 3-hour liturgy. Amazing. Hard on the shins, but really fun. And also the Alleluia, the way they performed it with the horns and everything, blew away the Russian national anthem. It was amazing. That was really cool. So I went there for our local deacon, and then he went to another assignment like 30 minutes away or something, so we can still visit him. And then another seminarian got, or not seminarian, well, I guess he was kind of involved in that, but he was a deacon, just got ordained at my super local church. So he started, and then our former pastor, a Monsignor, retired, and we have a new Monsignor. So there was kind of that kind of introductions and that type of thing. So it was good fun.
Nice. Yeah, ordinations are a ton of fun, and I've missed the ordinations in my diocese the past couple of years, because I've been here, and they always, class always starts after Labor Day, and our ordinations are always the weekend after Labor Day. But maybe I'll just skip the first week of class next year, huh? And just we'll see. Well, it's like, so actually our classes didn't start until Thursday, so it just would have been 2 days of class. And like, I get there, and there's a couple people who are like, oh yeah, they're missing the first 2 days of class because they have things going on in their diocese. And I was like, that's an option? And then somebody had the Zoom set up and was just Zooming the guy in. And I was like, how long has this been an option? I didn't know I could just skip the first 2 days of class. I mean, but it makes sense, because you just get the syllabus, and they do a history lecture, which is usually really boring because it's not their expertise, and it's usually general level of reading. So
it's like, I could have read this in half the time it took you to say it. Yeah,
right. And it's like, you're not going to put that much into your first lecture, because the real meat of the course is going to come when you get into it. But yeah. So we'll see how the schedule works out. As far as horns in the liturgy go, you should. You really got to save the horns for important occasions. Like, you don't want to be playing the trumpets and the trombones like every Sunday. I think when I was down visiting Mark in South Carolina, I dragged him to church as is right and just. And we liked it. It was a nice parish. It was very beautiful on the inside. The pastor gave a good homily. Everything was in the right spot. The organist, it really wasn't that big of a church, and the organist was just blasting the pipes.
Yeah.
And it was a little much. It was a little much for the fourth Sunday of Ordinary Time. Like you do that volume during the Easter Vigil, during the Gloria. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
Ta-da! Christ is risen. But oh boy, fourth Sunday of Ordinary Time was a little much. So
I'm sort of surrounded by like 3 churches that are all within like 5 or 10 minutes of me. So a lot of times I kind of church hop. So I organize a group at one church, and then there's another one that there's kind of a lot of people that I know that are at, and then there's the other one that's like walking distance away, which is probably the one I end up at on Sundays a little more often. But one of the ones that's about 5 or 10 minutes away is they have a great like musical conductor over there, and he's fantastic. And I mean, when that guy sings, he doesn't even need a microphone. Echoes through the whole place, doesn't matter how big it is. But when they do the recessional hymn and everything, he blasts on the organ. It's like, okay, everybody get up. Like if you're falling asleep, you're not going to be right now.
Yeah.
So he's down.
It's good.
Yeah.
Oh my!
So the book club for Moby Dick was good.
Yeah, I thought so. Sounds like it's exceeded expectations, whatever those expectations. Ted showed up, more importantly, although he didn't stay, that was a disappointment. I wanted him there the whole time. Damn it! I need to pick a brain.
Yeah, everybody wants Ted to be there because he's great.
Yeah.
And that includes his wife and children. So, I think whenever Ted's not around, I know it's because he's touching grass. And it's hard to hate him for that.
Oh, no, I can do it. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Well, you're exceptional, Mark.
I got skills, man.
Mark will hate regardless.
I got skills. That ain't my fault. I got skills. You guys should upgrade. You can get skills.
A veritable abyss of hate. No. It's the Moby Dick Book Club was recorded. The discussion for the first 3 chapters is on the record for anybody who wants to hear it. And I don't know, Mark. It sounds like the quality of the book has exceeded your expectations. That you weren't.
I didn't have any expectations. Like I said, I hadn't read the classics rather on purpose, and so I didn't know. I don't know, what are these classic books like? But this one, yeah. I mean, it's not Canterbury Tales. It's better than that, right? So yeah.
So there's gosh, I guess I could post a link to the Discord server in the chat.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I put one in the description of this video, but if you want to hop on the Discord, I will get that.
I think Dawn is right. Ted needs better internet, so we've got to come up with a fund or
start up a collection to get Ted better internet.
Whatever it takes. I'll go out there with freaking wire strippers and do the thing. I don't care. I just need some parts. I'll make it work. That's not a problem. That's all easy. That's the easy part of the tech. We'll buy him Starlink or whatever.
Yeah, unless it's buy him Starlink. Yeah, you can have a big dish in his front yard.
No, they're small. They're not big.
Okay,
you can mount them on your RV. You can use Starlink while moving now.
Nice. Is
that how they exactly do what we needed?
Internet on airplanes.
They already have that. They use a different tech. Yeah. You can do internet while you're driving. So
preferably you can do internet while someone else is driving.
Preferably.
Yeah.
You're just a prude, Emma.
I just like not dying. Call me crazy.
So boring. Everyone dies. Like, you don't have a choice. You might as well do it.
Okay, I
while
like
you're
not
online.
dying via car crash. I will pick a different way to die.
Wait, are you
Say
saying that you want to die like your grandfather peacefully in his sleep and not like the passenger of his car screaming in horror? And I used that joke the other day. It's one of my favorite lines. Just love that one.
Ooh, I'll have to hold on to that one.
A little contrast.
That's a good one.
Grandpa, are you sure you're good to drive? I'm good. I'm good. Oh, Lord have mercy on us. Yeah. Yeah. No, we'll get Ted taken care of. But if he listens to this, you got to listen to it and give us his bank information, and then we'll help him.
Give us his bank information. Yeah, we'll help him. Just give me your bank information. I'll help you. Sounds good. Sounds like a plan to me.
Yeah. Well, gosh, I thought you all were going to be like excited to talk about the Vigano situation, but maybe it is just as straightforward as he seems, and the guy won't stop talking and is in schism now.
I actually don't know much about the Vigano situation right now. I have not looked into it. But it seems the logical conclusion of where he seemed to have been heading for a while.
Yeah. You may have, I don't know, if you happen to read into it, you may have heard that he's having an extrajudiciary process. That doesn't mean that. Yeah, it doesn't mean that Pope Francis is going to hop into a helicopter with the boys and go whack them. But it means that there isn't going to be a trial because all of the evidence is in public. Like, there really isn't any disputes about fact because it's 100%. Because it's just 100% like he's been saying these things via text, via recording. It's all out there. We don't actually need to have a trial for fact finding. We can just do an administrative process.
Can we do that with the American justice system? I got questions.
I can't.
That would have circumvented a bunch of problems for me. This is factually evident. We don't need to talk about it in front of a judge ever. Don't need a court. We can just forego.
There's still probably a panel of judges, but you don't have to go through all of the evidence and the fact finding because he's just been saying this stuff in public. Yeah,
for outcomes. The part of the lawfare system of the United States is doing this. Well, I've got facts. It's like, all right, where are they? And then they don't, and and just stretching things out and making it expensive for no reason when you lied about having facts to begin with, which in and of itself should get you jailed immediately as an attorney, but somehow doesn't in the United States,
or at least disbarred.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a case. I don't know the full facts of the case. I don't want to quote it, but what I was told of this case in Massachusetts, and it's a famous case because it's a woman being tried for murder of her husband, and I was kind of like, the guy's dead. He was dead in the yard, and it looks like he was probably hit by a car, and it's her car, and she was driving. So, it's not like a poisoning or like he died away from home under his tree. It's kind of open and shut. Like, no, there's all this stuff about, he was a cop, and the police department, was all there having a party or something. And he might have gotten beat up and not hit by a car. And it's like, maybe. But apparently in the middle of the case, the cops were told, they needed to preserve evidence. They were given an order to preserve evidence. And the day before the order was executed, this is another game they play. The day before the order was executed, they all erased their cell phone. Now that's bad enough. But they said this in a court in front of a judge and did not immediately get escorted to jail. That's my problem. Because now we don't need a trial for that, right? Because we're already in a trial. So you just take them to jail, right away. You don't even You finish your testimony.
Why is there a time delay on preserving evidence anyway? That just seems like warning, destroy this right now.
No, it's not right. It's all. Oh, Emma, you wouldn't. I personally know, have seen, and have been involved with people who have destroyed evidence. It happens all the time, literally all the time. No idea why they do this. I have no. They go through this weird thing where they're like, "Oh, well, we have to check with the other." No, you don't. You have to check with the other side. That's actually technically wrong legally, and the lawyers won't. They'll be like, "I have to check with the other side before I put out, before I put out a request for information from a third party." I'm like, "No, you actually don't. You have subpoena power. That's what that means. It means you don't have to check with anybody. You can compel, and that's what you should be doing." And they won't do it. It's all this buddy partner system with the lawyers, and it's disgusting. It's horrific. It's why we have no justice in the United States whatsoever. You're just not protected by the justice system. It's most likely to be used as a weapon against you, whether it's the 2008 housing crisis or apparently a murder trial or whatever. Like, they're just going to use it against you. It's terrible. It's terrible that it gets used that way. But this sounds good because, like, when they took my house, it would have been like 4 seconds, right? Like, oh, you don't have any paperwork saying you own the house, and the paperwork we do have says that you don't. We're done here. And it wouldn't have taken. I wouldn't have had to go to court. Like, they were already in court trying to do a foreclosure, and had they just followed the procedures, they wouldn't have been able to foreclose, and I would have been like, sorry, and then nothing would have happened. Like, I just would have continued to own the house that I owned before because I was the only legal owner. Wasn't a difficult thing. It was a 10-minute case. Oh, you're the only person on any paperwork that is still in existence. Yep, all the other entities are gone. They've been dissolved. But it's still my house, and I still live there. So, like, this isn't hard, right? And they take the house anyway. It took 5 years. 5 years and $50,000. But it shouldn't have happened. And have we, like, that didn't have to happen. They could have just followed the law. The law is 1,000,000,000% clear, but they're using the, we kind of got to go through this procedure. No, you don't. Nowhere does it say that. In fact, you're not even supposed to be here legally. But they didn't want to follow that procedure. No, we're not going to follow that procedure where we actually have to file paperwork in order to start the proceedings. No, that procedure. No, we're just going to presume the proceedings. They did that with all the foreclosure cases I saw, all of them. Nobody presented any evidence, documentary evidence, that they had the right to foreclose. Because the banks had to do that, they would have all not.
Yeah. You've got a whole video about that, right? Where you go into the details, step by step, chronologically.
Yeah,
it's worth listening to. It's a good video.
Thank you.
It's a good video.
It's Navigating Patterns. Check it out. It's a wonderful video.
It sounds like an intense story.
Yeah.
And
one of the things that Mark is appreciating about the canonical system is that ultimately it's kind of monarchical, and like, somebody can just make a judgment and say, yeah, we don't need to do a full trial for this. The evidence is pretty clear. And if they don't like it, they can still make recourse against it. And it'll go to the apostolic signature. And if they call for a trial, then, oops. But the apostolic signature is where the top nerds go. And I'll tell you what, you want all of your judges to be nerds whose main goal in life is to prove points of law and not, like, make money or be powerful. Like, that was the brilliance of most of the church's inquisitions, is that these guys were, like, much more interested in scoring theological points on each other than they were in, like, hosing ordinary people. And that's exactly who you want in charge of these things, because, they're going to argue with each other. It's going to be like, and some, parliamentary procedure minutia or something like that, rather than, obviously this guy's innocent, we're going to let him go. Then the accusers don't have any evidence, right? But no, we really need to get into, what does consent actually mean? It's beautiful. It's beautiful when it works. It's beautiful when it works. That's all I'll say. But yeah, then, it's like, the Holy Father routinely gives dispensations for statute of limitations in individual cases. It's like,
Really?
you want to try a case from the 70s? Like, yeah, he could just, the Holy Father could just give a dispensation from the statute of limitations for like abuse cases. So it's, he can look at the evidence. He can say, there's actually really good evidence here. Let's actually just try this one. Yeah. But he also has the responsibility of all of it, outrageous amount of responsibility. So he will stand before the Lord. We'll ask him what he did with plenary, executive, judicial, and legislative power. So, that's another thing that came from the Vatican II, is splitting those three up. That wasn't in the 17 code clearly, but it's actually a good division, organizing things that way. So,
where's your Father Eric defends Vatican II on principle, condemns it on implementation video?
I haven't done that. Doesn't exist.
Well, I know.
And because it's just a bunch of ones and zeros, where is a really interesting question. I don't think it's really that complicated. It's like, there were some serious and sober-minded men who tried to do a good thing for the church, and all of it came in the form of decrees and declarations, and revolutionaries hijacked the moment and did evil.
Okay, I mean, you outline the good points. I want to know all the good points of Vatican II in ideal. I want a video on it.
The documents are like this, are this thick. Right?
That's why I want you to do a video on it, Muppet.
How many videos? It's going to take a while.
As many as it takes.
No.
Just so that Mark is satisfied and entertained.
No, I don't need to be entertained. I got too many videos to watch. No, just like one, like this point was good, this point was good, this point was good. Like, these ideals were all good, right? Had they been implemented differently, they all would have been more wonderful than they already are with bad implementation or something. That'd be fine. You can do that in 2 hours, I bet. It's not that
all right.
big.
I will take it under consideration.
Yeah. I mean, it's the topic of the day for you crazy Catholics, so you might as well jump on that.
Nothing else going on.
Yeah, you're not doing anything else. I gotta drag you.
It comes around every 6 months or so.
Oh, do they? Is it that frequent?
Yeah. Or maybe not. Maybe it's every year or so. But it's like, we're still hacking it out. I mean, I think Tom Holland's quite right when he says that 1968 is going to rank up there with like 15, 17, and I don't know, other revolutionary dates we could say.
1776.
So what a lot of the things. Yeah, well, I'm talking. It's got to be bigger than 1776.
Yeah,
I think
1776 is really big for us and not big.
I don't know. I guess the United States had a global impact right away once it actually became the United States, but it kind of took a while to get there.
Yeah, but it's all bad.
Yeah, it's just a lot of things that have been festering underneath the surface.
No, it's all bad. It is. It's the freaking French Revolution and feminism and everything else. All the stuff, the immediate stuff.
I was about to say, like, the French Revolution kind of came from the American Revolution.
Right. That's pretty bad. Which came from the English Revolution. But yeah, it's a whole. See my videos with Adam.
Yeah.
Those are awesome. But like, but there is some small, dare I say, glimmer of redemption in this whaling thing because of Moby Dick. Because I was like, wait a minute. I'm pretty sure actually the first big industrialization was in the United States as a result of whaling. Now I've got to go do a bunch of research on that because I'm like, no whaling before. I mean, there was whaling, but not that kind of whaling,
Not large scale, yeah.
and not technological, like all those. So I mean, you know, because the problem with the second industrial revolution, which was, you know, Lowell, Massachusetts, which I know way too much about, like that, we just stole that from England, and we improved it vastly. The improvements are vast, but like we literally we sent a guy named Lowell to England who had an eidetic memory and like stole all the stuff, like writing it on napkins after his tour every day, and then brought it all back with him. So we just took that, just totally stole it. But whaling, we probably own that simply because England cut down all their trees, all the shipwrights moved to the U.S., which is also why we won the naval battles in the Revolution, even though we didn't have a navy. We had 3 ships. We had 3 boats. We beat the largest navy in the world with 3 boats, 3 indestructible boats. But I think that's because all the talent was here. Like we had sucked, which is, you know, ever since then certainly has been the U.S.'s magic. Give us all your smart people. Give us your people who might be smart, and we'll educate them, and then they'll be here. It's reverse colonization. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's our trick. That's what we do best. Steal things. It's good.
That's why our national bird is the eagle. It's a scavenger, Mark.
Eagles are scavengers? I don't know about that.
Oh, eagles are 100% scavengers.
Yeah.
They're not even birds of prey. I think they're so big so that they can scare off other birds.
Really? Huh. Yeah,
I think they will occasionally catch like fish, but they mostly scavenge.
Yeah, they catch fish all the time. Like, what are you guys talking about? Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I definitely cast it more, of course, in the flavor of Rome. Right? Because just take from the best and integrate it with your society. That's the Roman trick. So, you know, which, you know, in contrast to the Greeks.
The Romans ate the Greeks. Or Rome ate Greece.
No, only under protest. They left Greece alone initially. They didn't. They revered Greece.
They did, but they kind of just absorbed it.
Well, but Greece couldn't stop fighting, so finally they were like, "All right, I guess we'll bring the legions in there and put down the warring city-states once and for all."
Mm-hmm.
And they
but
did.
They didn't want to.
When's the last time you heard of a civil war in Greece?
Yesterday.
A civil war? Like a proper civil war?
The place is in constant civil war. That whole region is nothing but constant. Like that whole peninsula is a giant ongoing war.
Okay.
It was wild going to Croatia, and like you're off the coast, and like there's houses full of bullet holes, and I'm like, well, what's going on here? I hope those aren't recent. You know. Yeah, Bosnia Herzegovina, Serbia. I mean, it's just wars all over that peninsula. It's crazy.
Yeah, but not between Sparta and Athens anymore.
True. I mean, all the Greeks left and went to Sicily, so it's just Turks now.
Ouch.
Ouch.
Boy, those might be fighting words, Mark.
Those are fighting
not with me.
Oh yeah,
I don't have any.
Those are fighting words.
I don't have any.
No, I know. I know what I said. I stand by the joke, so it's okay. I don't know where the Greek side of my
post office
from.
in Dublin.
Oh,
post office in Dublin. I've seen that post office. That's like where the big revolution. Oh gosh, what year was it? Was it 1917 or 1918? The Irish were trying to throw off the English.
Yeah, that's still happening.
Yeah. They catch fish. Okay, they also catch fish.
We only show them catching fish. What do you mean they scavenge?
Yeah.
Believe the propaganda.
I'm sorry. I need to be a better something anyway.
I've seen eagles around here, so I didn't realize that. You say they're big. I'm like, I don't know, man. The other scavenger birds around here are way bigger than eagles. Like twice the size. They're huge.
They also look
Yeah.
really stupid face on. They look really majestic in profile, but they look really stupid face on.
Well, it looks like we need to get photographic evidence of this. Yeah.
I want to see the eagle on the beach carrying a machine gun in each wing. That was my favorite freaking meme of all time. America.
You mean like this, Emma? Let's just share screen. Like that?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yikes.
I don't know. I still think I'd keep my distance if I were similarly sized and unarmed.
Yeah. I mean, even not being similarly sized, but being unarmed, I would not want to tangle with one still, because that would hurt.
Yeah, I got sharp talons.
Sharp beak.
Sharp beaks. Yep.
He looks angry. He looks really angry. Yeah, to Emma's point. It's like, let's stay away from the angry bird.
Yeah.
Angry Birds game did not prepare me for this.
True story, bro. Yeah, everybody says video games are good and they exact into real life, and I'm like, have you played a video game? Because I don't know what you're talking about.
Who's saying that video games exact into real life?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm not saying that. Take me
a bunch of people.
Take me out of the category. Take me out of the set of everybody. Take me out of that.
Yeah, take me out of that set immediately. Yeah, a lot of people defend video games with that. It's the fast reflexes, and it's like, I don't know, bro. Like, absolutely. No, actually, I do know. You're wrong.
No, it's like the exact opposite of that, because it's unembodied, right? Even with motion control headsets and all of that, that would only be like a VR headset would only be like a poor approximation. I've played with the VR headset. Like, they're kind of cool, but like they are not training right there. Second thing is that a good video game will already have done the relevance realization for you.
Yes.
Yeah. Good video games do that. Bad video games are really frustrating because you don't know what you're supposed to be doing. And when you're stuck for like 5 minutes in a game, it feels like 2 hours in real life.
Yeah, and there's lag. That's actually why I'm not good at video games, because of the lag. And most people are slow. Sorry, guys. You're all slow. And so you don't notice the lag, but actually I really notice the lag. So I'm actually just not good at video games.
Mark's the CRT purist here.
Really fast.
Yeah. So I think on those two counts, it basically means that most video games are useless for developing any skills whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you remember hearing all of this stuff about like Doom and how it's like a murder simulator, and it's like anybody who says that has never fired a gun before.
That's right.
Vastly different experiences. Actually having the weight in there, actually having to aim yourself, feeling the kickback, especially if it's a high caliber weapon, just incomparable to even it was a day off, and a buddy and I went to this place that you could go play video games at to try the VR headsets at. And we were doing a first person shooter with a VR headset on, right? Like, this is as realistic as it gets. And it's like, yeah, you just press the button and the gun fires, and I just had the stupid little wands in our hands, so we did that for half an hour and went and did something else. Although I had to have a seat behind me so I could feel it behind my legs, because really low latency headsets and like everything starts moving, but my feet are standing still. So I was like, I'm sure it looked really, really odd. See, Dawn knows what this is about. She doesn't call a Doom a murder simulator. She saw a 357 Mac once. It knocked you backwards and tears rolled down your cheeks. Yeah, that's just be glad whoever was taking you shooting didn't give you a Desert Eagle. Because people will do that for a laugh.
Yeah. I have a family member who owns a 500 Magnum, and it's just like, just don't even stand behind him with that. Like I admit, I like Doom. I haven't played it in a while. I was really good at it, and I have firearms and I'm decent with them. But yeah, it's a wildly different experience. I will say one thing. I remembered reading a book by was it Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman. He's pretty anti shooting games because he actually said, now he was one of those guys that was kind of saying like, oh, mass murder simulator, that type of thing. But he said that in his experience with cops, that when they had guys who had hunting experience and had handled like hunting rifles, and then they were starting with handguns on the range when they were just recruited as police officers, versus the guys that had no gun experience but had experience with like military shooter video games, that strangely the ones with the video game experience actually handled the handguns better than the hunters. But there's a lot of other things that don't track along with that.
They had
too.
No sense.
Yeah, that it's, you still have to manage recoil, and also there's the fact that, okay, well, not everything on the screen is a target, and in games your friends have friendly fire turned off generally. So there's also that. You have to have additional considerations with the real thing. So
yeah, I mean, flight simulators might be an exception because you're already fly by wire, so it doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of lag in mechanical things. Even the amount of lag in my sports car is like, come on, guys, really? You can do this.
I've heard Microsoft Flight Simulator can familiarize you with the cockpit.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. No, it can familiarize you entirely with flying. Those flight simulator games are pretty good. My buddy learned to be a pilot entirely on flight simulator games, and he's a decent pilot.
And the military uses the flight simulators too. So obviously it's got some value that this guy can get a feel for all of these things before you put him up in the air in a $20 million aircraft.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But that's a very narrow use case there. And I think you'd need to get past Microsoft Flight Simulator first, just or pretty quickly, just so you get a feel for like the throttle and the it's like, okay, how when I turn the wheel a little bit, how much does the aircraft turn? Like you need to get a physical feel for that. Yeah, you need to get that sooner rather than later. Rather than, like, I remember hearing a story about, somebody like in their first flight with the flight instructor, they both got the stick in front of them, and the flight instructor's like, okay, turn it gently to the left. Gently, just because it's like, gently in a car is one thing, and apparently gently in an airplane is a very another thing. And he just kind of turned it like a car, and the whole plane just kind of went. And they were, 6,000 or 7,000 feet up in the air. So they weren't really in any danger, but it's like, you've got to get a feel for what that actually means when you move like that.
Yeah. My dad had a pilot's license for a while.
Yeah.
He flew with us not too long ago because he also has a friend who's a flight instructor. So even if your license is lapsed, you can still fly as long as he's like the co-pilot. It was fun. It freaked my mom out though. She doesn't like the little airplanes. She finds them kind of stressful.
The little airplanes are a little more stressful. They and more can go wrong, I think.
Yeah.
Less safety around. It's like the difference between a motorcycle and a full-size car. You just have less armor around you if something goes wrong.
And you can do more fun tricks.
Trade-offs. It's only somebody could tell us about trade-offs. That's right. Mark's got a video on trade-offs.
And a live stream on costs, which is the same topic, but don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
I might turn that monologue into a video because a couple people said it was good enough. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll just split that one off.
Yeah, I tuned in at the point where you said that because people are trying to be individuals, they intuitively know the cost of that. And that's why we want to have a big government, because we know that we can't bear that cost entirely on our own. And we need something outside of us. But people, because they're trying to be individuals, they're not going to look to family. They're not going to look to church. They're not going to look to local fraternal groups. Gosh, if we had like a local militia, and that's where like people went for help, it would be so Second Amendment. I would feel incredibly patriotic.
So the government is the only thing like faceless enough to allow you to still feel like an individual while getting help from them.
That's your personal private perspective on it. And at the same time, and this is, I have a video on the trick of socialism, right? At the same time, it's you need something outside of you, even though you're pretending to be an individual. Like the outside world has to protect you from the outside world, right? Or something in the outside world. And that thing is just always the thing that we label government. And you can relabel it, but like the thing that the government is that you hate is not going away, because it is also the thing that manages the distributed cognition that is more than one person who isn't you. It's not that hard, really.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought that was a really good point. And it's like when I first, tuned on, and then my internet got really bad, and I decided that was God's sign that I just needed to go to bed.
What's that? Yeah, what's going on? Do I have to drive out there and fix that?
It's just kind of collapses sometimes, and then it's fine again.
We'll have to run some tests.
Do you have fiber?
No, I'm on Wi-Fi.
Because fiber has been working badly in Illinois, and our only guess is like it's related to the heat. I don't know. It like went out randomly across the state, and like they fixed it in a couple hours, but like I don't know.
Yeah, the fiber network's broken. Actually, that's why these aren't working. So this broke 3 times on vacation. I was fully connected to the tower, and I had no service, no internet.
Interesting. That happened to my phone once too.
Right, but the phone worked, which is really weird situation. Although they do have a lot of the towers in New England used to have copper backup, so I suspected it was a fiber routing network problem. But I just know way too much about all that. I worked for a cell phone company for a while and stuff, so you got to see the inside of that. I was like, oh, you guys are a mess. But yeah, the way that works is when the phones go down, and a bunch of carriers went down, I found out at different times though. And I was like, well, that's weird that all these carriers are having carrier problems on technology that's, really old at this point that we know how to do. Why is this unstable? We know how to make this never go down. So I don't know what's going on, but that's interesting, Emma. If it's the fiber network, it makes sense that that's what's happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just know that every friend that I talked to who didn't have internet that day or the next day had fiber. So
compared to like DSL or
cable. The cable, half the cable network is coax copper to the house. It's not fiber to the house.
Oh, okay. Is that slower, or does it not matter?
It's technically slower, but it doesn't matter.
Because most people don't need 10 gigabits. Like, what are you going to do?
You can't use anything like that anyway. Like these people, like, I have 100 meg. You can't use 100 meg internet. What are you, high? What are you going to do with it? You can have 18 devices or something to use 100 meg internet. Like you're never gonna use anything like that. 10 will service most things. Like, and there are applications to have more, but like big households and stuff, sure, maybe. But like when I was in New England, I had, what did I have? I mean, I had a business DSL line, which is just 1.5 meg up and down, which is a T1 equivalent speed. But like my cable network, I think it was half a gig. It was ridiculous. I mean, it's just insane speed. Because I had Verizon Fiber, and it was just so fast. I was just like, this is nuts. This is completely insane. And even I had 50 computers in the basement. I had more than 50 total. Anyway, I had 50 computers in the basement. I couldn't use up the whole pipe. Like there was no, and I know how to tune the networks, and I couldn't use up the whole pipe. There's just no way I could do it. Especially back then, the machines just weren't fast enough. Nowadays, it's a little bit easier because one machine can be that fast. But now you need enough data to fill them. Like now we're already at the point where nobody has data in their house, enough data locally in their house to use up the pipe. So even if you could go that fast, you've got to have stuff to send and receive.
Linux distros. We're all sending each other Linux distros.
Yes, on BitTorrent. That's what we use BitTorrent for, to get Linux distros. That is correct, Father. That's all we use it for.
Oh my, yeah. You know, I've got a feeling that it's probably just like like all of these things, you know, they may look like technical problems initially, usually end up being human problems. It's crumbling infrastructure in poorly run states. And I'm sorry, Emma, I don't know if anybody's told you this, but you live in Illinois.
I'm aware, unfortunately.
And Illinois is basically Chicago. And Chicago is kind of corrupt. So,
just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had like a Batman supervillain as your mayor for a while.
Yeah, I don't know what possessed me to think it was a good idea to buy a house in Illinois, but whatever. Yeah. We'll see how it plays out.
I mean, if the housing market continues the way it will, you could sell it for a profit in 5 years and then move to North Dakota where it's safe.
Sounds good.
Just ideas. I have lots of ideas. Some of them are good. Yeah, so it's all of these technical problems usually have like a human problem behind it. Like what, 80 or 90% of hacks and exploitations and software vulnerabilities come from somebody clicking on an email that they shouldn't.
Yeah.
The other 10% are technical. You know,
and there's a reason the hackers keep leaning into the click on emails you shouldn't like angle rather than trying other ways to get into computers, because it works.
Works a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah, the human engineering aspect is the best tool hackers have. Always was. And yeah, if you read any of the books about their exploits, that's pretty much the secret. It's just talking one-on-one to somebody to convince them to do one little thing that's not a big deal, but it gives them access, you know, that they can leverage for other access.
And that's also how law enforcement. That's also how law enforcement catches these guys.
Right. Yeah, often it is. If you go to any of these conferences, and I went to a free one. Actually, it wasn't even free. They gave us meals. Like they fed us to go to a conference. I'm like, wait a minute, you're going to feed me lunch and dinner to show up at a conference? I'm going to the conference. I think I'll go. Yeah, it was fantastic. So while I was there, this guy showed how to break into a system. He's like, you go here and you can't elevate privileges here, but what you can do is do this, and then you can swap this account, and then from there you can elevate privileges there, and then you wait, and then you jump, and now once you're elevated privileges in this system, now you can jump systems. It's like, whoa, dude! He did it all on stage too. I was like, oh, that's pretty impressive. I like.
Dang.
Yeah, they'll give little demos and stuff of how to break in. This was a Salesforce export. Salesforce is a big deal, but he showed how one misconfiguration, small, minor, easy to misconfiguration in Salesforce can allow you to break into the whole company. Like, cool. And like I said, awesome. I got fed to see that demonstration. Good deal.
Yeah. So is cybersecurity the place to be?
I wouldn't go near it with a 10-foot pole. It's a complete mess. I mean, there's lots of business opportunities there because no one knows what they're doing and everyone's going about everything the wrong way. But so yeah, I mean, look, if you want a job, get a cybersecurity certificate and go to work right away because they'll never have enough people for that job.
Yeah, the University of St. Mary has a cybersecurity program. My brother's thinking about it.
In Bismarck, North Dakota?
Yeah, in Bismarck, North Dakota.
University of Mary is happening. So I actually, like completely on accident, ended up at a book club on Thursday night in Virginia. By completely on accident, I mean I got a last minute invitation with somebody and he drove me there. That's how the accident went. It was being hosted by, I got supper with a guy I was in seminary with, and this was another guy I was in seminary with, but these two never overlapped and had never met before. Said, hey, come to this book study. Anyway, he's going to go work at University of Mary in Bismarck now. He's going to teach theology there. So it's like,
oh, nice.
Like you're the second person to independently mention University of Mary to me in the past 4 days, which normally nobody talks about it because it's in the middle of North Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
But Monsignor Shea's making things happen.
My youngest two siblings are heading into their senior year of high school. And they're visiting my grandparents in North Dakota this week. So my mom has talked them into touring University of Mary because she wants to see it and she thinks it would be good for them. And my brother is excited because the way their program is set up, you can optionally not have summers and push through in 3 years instead. And he likes the idea of never having to deal with having a summer off again.
Has a hard time with free time, huh?
He has a hard time with unstructured time. He's a little depressed right now.
Okay. Certainly can. Yeah. Well, that'd be great. Just so everybody knows, North Dakota is a big state. Bismarck is a 2-hour and 50-minute drive from Fargo. Yep. So it's not like I'm always there. It's like I'm actually rarely ever there. But I do know some people there. And University of Mary can, despite all of the brutalist architecture from the 1960s, can recommend. It's at least sturdy, being made entirely out of concrete.
Yeah.
Doesn't go anywhere.
Stone blocks, hand carved or nothing.
I'm right there with you, Mark, but I wasn't around in the 60s.
And
neither were
by oxen.
Like the monastery they're building in Wyoming.
The Carmelites, right?
I think so, yeah.
Are they? That's awesome. Based,
the monks,
double based.
The monks, definitely double based there. You would like these guys. They only do the traditional Latin Mass there. And they make coffee. Well, you don't like coffee, but they make coffee. That's how they make money. Is they roast coffee.
They make excellent coffee.
They have tea too, so
they do have their tea is also good.
Okay, so
I gotta do the tea thing. I gotta do the tea thing. I should get
their hot chocolate is also good.
Boy, Emma, you're a big Mystic Monk fan, aren't you?
My parents started buying it 10 years ago, so I've just had a lot of time to try it.
Oh my, praise God! Yeah, coffee, and they really lean into the whole monk thing in their marketing. It's like they've all got their cowls up, and they're all sweeping and roasting and praying. It's like, oh, these guys know what's up. It's like I know that they're innocent and cut off from the world, but they're also doing just fine. They know how to
sell the aesthetic for sure.
They know how to sell the aesthetic of the monastery. And you know what? They're doing it for real because they're in the middle of Wyoming. And Wyoming is even more sparsely populated than North Dakota, if you can imagine.
Yeah, Wyoming is where nowhere goes when it wants to be alone.
And I should know, I drove across all of Wyoming in September. So.
Oh, was that to get your brother-in-law?
To move my brother-in-law from Las Vegas to Fargo. Yep. He had to wait for the lease on his apartment to expire before he was there in person for the wedding. He had to just take care of some things. Yeah. Well, on the subject of the Code of Canon Law, it is possible to do a wedding where one party is represented by proxy. However, just so everybody can be rest assured, There is no consummation by proxy, only the exchange of consent.
That's good to know.
Interesting.
What I would have expected.
Wyoming is awesome. Yeah. If you're looking for elbow room, Wyoming is the place to be, 100%.
Sally Joe is a crazy artist, so word of warning.
Yeah. No, and it's like mountains to draw. So yeah, plenty for the crazy artists to love there.
Yeah.
I haven't been to Wyoming yet. Someday maybe. Got to get things settled here first, and then we can go out to Wyoming.
I'm really curious to see how Wyoming Catholic College plays out.
Another place that you would like, Mark, Wyoming Catholic College is one of the few colleges in the United States where you can have a gun but not a cell phone.
I'm all in. I'm packing right now. I'm out of here.
They make the incoming freshmen do like a 2-week backpacking trip.
Oh, dude!
And horse riding classes are mandatory.
Yeah. It's very Wyoming Catholic College. It's a place.
Oh, I'm gonna build that here. That sounds awesome.
That sounds like you're gonna have to get a little farther outside of Columbia, but you could. I think you could.
Yeah, Kershaw will let me do whatever I want. I'm just gonna find some land down the street. It's good.
Oh, Sally's changed her mind. It's a barren hexscape, hail and fire. Never go there. Don't come to South Dakota either. Our governor kills dogs.
PSYOP confirmed. PSYOP Sally. We can call her PSYOP Sally from now on.
PSYOP Sally. That's your new name. PSYOP Sally is coming.
Cowboy Catholics. Yes.
That's
Cowboy
us.
Catholics.
That's us. That's actually that's the folks in Wyoming.
That is the folks in Wyoming.
No, that's perfect. That sounds great. Yeah, I think I think a lot of people want to do stuff like that, but no one's actually gone. We'll say in the meaning crisis in the secular space, a lot of people are like, yeah, when you get people out, and Rafe Kelly, right? When you get people outdoors and blah, blah, blah. Say, all right, we'll set up a college and get people to go there.
Let's be clear. I think Wyoming Catholic has got an undergraduate student body of like 1,500. So it's still pretty niche, but
I went to a school of 1,500.
Yeah, but Hillsdale somehow punches above its weight class in terms of influence.
True.
It does.
Like you Hillsdale people have a high school in Fargo. Like, how did you do that?
Well, see, all you need is someone in Fargo who's like, I want to set up a Barney charter school. And then I think Hillsdale just gives them the stuff for free. And they set up some like branding, and there you go.
No. A local businessman gave them like $10 million too.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how you convince people to do that. But you do hear stories like that.
Oh man, it's just going to be like the most blue-blooded school in Fargo, which is fine because then the Catholic high school will become like the tough working class kids school with tough teachers, and it'll be good. It'll be good. We don't need all the prestige legacy students. I know Father Metzger would probably hate to hear me say that. He's the principal at Shadley. Yeah.
All the fancy nerds.
I don't think I'll ever have a I don't believe I'll ever have a development position because I say things like that. Like, oh, we don't need any of these legacy people. What the heck?
Oops.
Yeah, Father, why don't you just keep your mouth shut? Speaking of banning cell phones, the Catholic high school in Fargo has banned cell phones during the school day, and it made everybody happier. And you know how the principal knew that it made everybody happier? The first day of school, the lunchroom. No. The first day of school, the lunchroom was twice the volume.
Oh, that is good.
It had been. Talking with each other. Praise God from whom all blessings flow.
Yeah.
That's how you learn intimacy. You talk to other people. Even when they're annoying. Emma.
I know. It's how you learn to live with other people too. You can't. I don't know how we can expect people to get married if they don't learn to put up with people being annoying sometimes.
True.
You're so
True
humble
story.
and self-effacing, Emma. It's so brave of you to admit that about yourself.
Oh, I am admitting that about myself.
Definitely not throwing Colin under the bus. Oh.
I haven't experienced any of this, by the way. I've been around Emma in person, and she's perfectly lovely. But I'm sure it's somewhere under there she can annoy somebody somehow.
Yeah, I mean, there's like your friends, and then there's the friends you can travel with.
Yeah,
true story, bro.
Spent the whole Chino weekend with her. She was not irritating.
I was on my best behavior.
Yeah. Girls, it's a crazy camp out. I don't even know why I camped.
Okay, I'm wrong.
You did not learn from Thunder Bay at all. You're like, oh, camping, I'll do it again. Even though it didn't work last time.
Well, I had different problems this time.
Yeah. It was definitely the craziest thing I've done, and I don't know if I would do it again.
Well,
sure you would.
You knew I was going to be there. I brought respectability to the entire operation.
You kind of did.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Father Eric's going to be there. It can't get that crazy.
Well, and you did keep it from getting crazy, but
yeah.
My personal recommendation is my recommendation is don't do it again, and let things get crazy so that people can see what's really going on.
Yeah. I was also cleaning up garbage the entire morning after it all was done.
Yeah.
Somebody left a box of donuts here. Somebody left a box of pizza. It was just cans everywhere. Like, what's wrong with you animals?
Yeah, and there were ants all over everything because it had been left out for like 2 days. It's nasty.
That's not
That's why I bring respectability wherever I go. We're gonna have
because you got high conscientiousness.
86 percentile conscientiousness. Let's go.
Excellent. Do we know when Arkansas is happening again? We gotta get Ted in here to tell us when he's doing that again.
Yeah, we do.
That was still the best by far.
I said it once and I'll say it again. Nobody's ever done one of these twice.
No. Catherine's working on Thunder Bay too. I think it's gonna happen. I got my fingers crossed.
When is it scheduled for? I've already got Chicago in next year's calendar.
Wait,
I don't know
what's happening in Chicago?
Well, I don't have a specific date, but save next August. A year, not next coming August, but
right, a year. Okay. That would be ideal for me, honestly.
Now, Dawn, we were close enough to LA where there weren't going to be any bears.
Yeah, this was not this was not hardcore camping.
This was not hardcore, although the bathrooms are hardcore. Oh, I just had higher standard. I thought California was going to have nice bathrooms like Minnesota does, but it doesn't.
California's a pit. That's why they have all the homeless people.
Leave Food City around. Want to meet a bear. My family lives in Northern Ontario. I know people that get bored and go to the dumps so they can watch the bears. My sister had one practically knock on her back door once in town. Sorry. Yeah. I'm going to leave you all in peace because
Well, I'm going to say one last thing. Have I ever told you that I'm amazed that people live north of me?
You don't live very far.
I think it's crazy in North Dakota.
Pretty far north.
Yeah, I think that's far enough north for anybody.
It's too far north.
That's my parting shot to you. It should be far enough north for anybody. That's my thought. And I realize that Canada exists and there's millions,
a lot of it,
millions of poor children suffering in Canada.
Yes. Where for some reason we had between 30 and 40 degree heat this week.
Everybody's getting that except for North Dakota.
Yeah.
Now I wish I was visiting my grandparents.
I made the mistake of looking up the weather in North Dakota. They're just having like a perfect summer right now. While I'm just dying here in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, but it's Washington. It's always hot there.
It's been like 95, 98 degrees every day here.
Very nice. Except for the sidewalk heat. I was born in the city. There is a big difference between rural heat and city heat.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's corn heat. You ever encountered corn heat?
Oh my gosh. Like you can feel the humidity coming off of the corn.
It's amazing. You've got to try it out sometime. I mean, not really, actually. It's pretty awful. But like around cornfields in August, they're just putting out a ton of humidity into the air. And you know it's from the corn. I don't know how you know it's from the corn, but you just know it's coming off the corn. You can feel it coming off the corn.
Actually, there are enough fields around here that the weather in Champaign changes based on whether it's a corn year or a soy year, because farmers will like rotate their fields. So if it's a corn year, it's going to be more humid in Champaign than if it's a soy year.
Does that count as feeding the clouds?
Oh my. It almost is. That's we're getting pretty close to cloud seeding there. It's like you don't need to throw anything up in an airplane. You just need to go to Iowa.
Plant corn.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. That's how we're going to control the weather, is with corn.
Yep.
He who controls the corn controls the future, baby.
No, I can't believe you went there. I cannot believe you went there. That's great.
Enjoy.
You take care, Sandy.
Good to see you, Sandy.
You too.
Oh, boy.
The corn worms. I can see it now. The giant corn worms through the fields. Yeah, I can.
Maybe that's how Dune started.
We could.
Maybe the spice worms evolved out of corn worms.
If we had an animator, we could totally pull that off in a short, like 4-minute video about he who controls the corn, controls the weather. No, the climate. He who controls the corn controls the climate.
And he who controls the climate controls the future.
He who controls the climate controls the future. Yes, it'd be great. Oh yeah.
This is existing. Imagine it's like a future where humanity has like bred corn so that the cobs are like 10 feet high.
Yes.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, yes. Right. So it's like you're in a forest, but it's still super densely packed together, because that's another thing that we've bred corn to tolerate, is being really closely packed together. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Got like the people living among the corn husks. That's the Fremen.
It's like Nausicaa in the Valley of the Wind.
Yeah, but instead of being like really tan, they're all really pale because they never see the sun. Because
it's just corn. They're just buried in the corn.
Oh no! I was gonna say they walk on top of the corn, and then the corn worms come from below.
Oh, that's another way. Oh, we could do it like that too.
Yeah.
Like the corn is now so closely packed together that you can walk on top of it if you know how. It's the secret of the corn men.
Right, that's right. That's right. And if you don't know how, and you don't have a proper suit to protect you against the extra humidity, you just fall in, and then the corn worm eats you.
And you're just buried in the corn.
We lost another harvester to the corn. And the name of the book will just be Corn, right?
Corn.
Has almost the same impact as Dune.
Well, this is why people are like, Dune's amazing, and I'm like, really? I don't know, dude. I mean, parts of it are very interesting, but like,
do you talk about the movie or the book?
Great literature.
You talk about the movie or the book?
It's not particularly well. Like, he's not a good writer. Like, this is the word I'm like, this is actually. It's not bad writing by any means, but it's not good writing either. It's not good storytelling.
It's decidedly exposition heavy, which is not usually considered a mark of good writing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's cool what he did, but like we just rewrote the whole thing with Korn in how many minutes? Like, come on, like if you can do that, the writing you're talking about is not top. I can't do that with the first 3 chapters of Moby Dick, which I read earlier today. I can't do that with one sentence of any of what I read today. So,
yeah,
little bit of difference.
I've never seen a literary parody of Moby Dick. I've seen lots of movie parodies. The movie is not the book.
Well, but the thing is, but the movies, it's interesting, right? Because movies are already compressions. Like you're already dealing with a bunch of compressions. And you can say, oh, but Mark, you've got to add in the costuming and the coloring and the music. Yeah, fair enough. But you're inserting all of that and it's still flat. Right. But you look at something like Moby Dick where it's just expansive. Like the language is so expansive. It can hold, I don't know, like 10 years of your life in one sentence. It's like amazing. And that's a huge difference. So, but when they're doing movies and like when you parody somebody, like the Jordan Peterson parodies, some of them are particularly funny, right? What they do is they pick one aspect and they exaggerate it slightly. And it only has to be slightly. It seems like a lot, but it's slightly. And it only has to be slightly because all the other components that would dampen that signal are gone. So it looks like they exaggerate a lot. In fact, they don't. And you do that with accent and the voice. You could do it with you can do it with just saying the same thing over and over again, right? That one. So
they
line.
Isolate it and then they exaggerate it.
Yeah. They isolate one piece and exaggerate it only slightly. And if you do it only slightly, and you're leaving all the other stuff out, so that signal just sticks out more. And that's a trick. That's a quick trick. Like there's all these tricks to like knowing how to be funny and telling jokes, and because there are actual formulas to it. That doesn't mean everybody can do it just because it's a formula, but like there are actual formulas to it.
Well, there are formulas to it, but you also got to know the timing.
Right. You can't teach timing. You can teach formulas, but you can't teach timing. And you can't get somebody to reliably think that way. But like I just reliably think about because I'm dyslexic, I reliably think about everything weird anyway. And so basically being around me for any length of time, if I'm comfortable with you, it's just me being very, very silly and you laughing a lot. And because I lean into this stuff too, because
you also get like really energetic talking about disk drives from 1997.
Yeah. Well, they're fun and cool.
That was a conversation we had walking in the woods. You had like the best disk drive sales day ever. No. It was service calls. It was service calls. Yeah. But yeah. It's true. But it's I would just imagine the absurdity of somebody getting like a master's degree in comedy. Like trying to put it into a credentialed system, yes, I graduated from the Harvard School of Clowning, which apparently is all of them now.
They've tried that before. Yeah. I think that would be a fun experiment though. I mean, they've already ruined college as such. So somebody should just set up a college that's actually a trade school and call it a college and just call it a day and be done with this nonsense and give them degrees like they give out. Why not? At this point, they've already destroyed it. Why not? Right? And everybody's like, I've got a master's in fixing plumbing or, whatever, right? I mean, make it like way over the top silly, but just make it a trade school, call it a college, just to stick it up the Harvard's behind. That would be lovely. That would make me very happy. I think we should do this. Let's crowdfund it.
Why don't we just, you're an expert at hacking computers, right? Why don't we just steal part of their endowment?
Are you encouraging me to commit cyber crimes on a live stream, Father?
Your Honor, I didn't think he would actually do it.
I knew that was coming. Now I can't do it. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure you're a resourceful fellow. You'll figure something out.
Yeah.
Just keep me ignorant, please.
Harvard's endowment has enough money to send everybody who wants to go to Harvard or everybody who could go to Harvard, like they could fill the school for free for the next 10 years. Right.
And what if they only used the interest of that endowment?
I have no idea. Well, that might only be the interest for all I know. I just know
Their endowment's like $1 billion.
Yeah, it's huge.
That's why I thought. That's why I thought, you know, if like
bigger than that.
If like $700,000 went missing, would they even notice? Would they even know? Would it
really matter?
Would it matter?
Would they really care that?
Oh, yeah, no, it's just under $50 billion. It's
okay. $700,000 goes missing. It's like, oops, that was probably just a computer glitch right there. Let's not worry about it. You know,
rounding error. We'll do the trick from Office Space. We'll just take the pennies, the fractions of pennies off the transaction.
As long as you program this properly.
That movie is great. That movie is so real life. It's not even funny. It's just I don't even think he wrote it. I think he was just observing the world and writing down what he saw when he did that movie. And it just happened to be really funny. I don't even think he wrote it as a comedy. I think he was just observing someone's life and writing it down. So bang on.
Emma,
I mean, the way it opens, the opening of that movie is so freaking genius. I'm like, this is the greatest movie opening that could ever possibly exist. Because he's stuck in the traffic and he changes lanes into the slower lane somehow, and then the other lanes. It's like, I've been there.
If that's never happened to you, that means you live in the middle of nowhere where there is no traffic.
Yeah. No. Yeah. It means you live a charmed and enchanted and blessed life, and you should actually get down on your knees and thank the Creator constantly from now on, because that is hell. There is no better definition.
Oh, I've never seen this movie.
Oh, you've never seen Office Space?
No.
Oh my!
I don't watch a lot of
movies. You're not even allowed back on the stream until you see any stream ever. You can't. You can do nothing else in your life until you see that movie. That movie is awesome. It is the best movie.
As your legal counsel, Emma, I'd just like to let you know that the cease and desist order that Mark gave you is not enforceable in any way. So,
listen to the canon lawyer. What does he know?
I guess I only know canon law. We don't really do cease and desist orders in canon law.
Well, maybe I'll watch it this week.
You really should. Oh, it is a trip. It is a trip. It's not as good as Princess Bride, but like it's kind of a modern day Princess Bride in a way, because it is almost as funny.
Right? Yeah.
Almost as funny.
When I was a little kid, I took the Princess Bride like fairly seriously. Like if you had asked me when I was about 7 years old to describe the Princess Bride, I probably would have told you that it's a serious movie with some pretty, substantial
movie
comedic
with some
elements.
Funny people in it.
Yeah, that's what I would have told you. It's like, this is fundamentally a serious movie, but it's got a lot of jokes in it,
And you know what? I think you were right.
You think that's the right assessment there?
Yes.
I think you were right. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'll take that. Yeah.
By the way, did you perchance ever partake in the Battlestar Galactica reboot miniseries and subsequent TV series?
I have not.
I would absolutely. So I was rewatching it recently, and like the miniseries, there's all the meaning crisis and the resolution. By the way, I was like, oh, that's why this stuff is banal and boring to me, because it's actually.
So how does Battlestar Galactica resolve the meaning crisis then?
Well, the resolution is in there. It doesn't resolve it per se. It just tells you what the resolution is if you're watching carefully enough. I don't think that Moore, who wrote it, really understood what he was writing at some level, but like, fair enough. Like, who understands this meaning crisis stuff anyway, right? But like, it's right there. Like, the whole thing is laid out right there. And I think I always thought the most brilliant part of even the original Battlestar Galactica series was that religion is right there. It's the Lords of Kobol, and they have rituals and the whole 9 yards. But like, whoa, rewatching it with the new lens, I'm like, wait a minute. This is like I rewatched The Matrix, which I had watched a billion times before, after listening to Pageau's breakdown of The Matrix, which had all new stuff that I had never considered, and I was just like, how is this possible that me, of all people, have not considered these things after watching and analyzing the Matrix movie 1 billion times? And it just turned out that it's impossible, right? And then this same thing happened with Tron Legacy. When I watched Tron Legacy, after a little, Pageau and Meaning Crisis stuff, like everything changed, and I was like, oh my goodness, this movie got even better somehow. But yeah, the mini series, I hadn't thought about it. It's like, hey, it's fun, it's good sci-fi, right? But like, I hadn't even thought about it in those terms, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's right there again. Ghost in the Shell. Yep, it's right there. It's all right. It's been here all along. No one's been paying any attention, or they've seen it and it hasn't clicked in their head.
Yeah. No, being blind is real. Happens all the time. Happens to me. Happens to Mark. Emma sees everything, but she's humble.
No.
So, yeah.
She just doesn't tell us. She's sneaky that way.
And Adam, is that actually your name?
So my first name actually is Castle. So Adams is my last name. It's not like a username. It's on my driver's license.
All righty, Castle. Nice to. This I feels like I'm meeting you for the first time now that I got your first name.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here. By the way, I know I haven't really been butting in a whole bunch, but I'm just kind of enjoying the conversation. I try to only kind of talk when I have something I know about.
Yeah.
But definitely,
I've been talking a lot more than I usually do. I usually just sit here and hang out for 2 hours, and Mark just talks.
It's fun.
I know the burden's on. I wasn't even going to jump in. I'm like, oh, he has enough people. Everything will be fine. And then everything died. And I'm like, all right, click, click, click.
This is my second live stream today.
True. Yeah. The first one was a bear too. I mean, I got some Ted, so I'm happy about that. But and we got John
Ted.
Molland. We the Language of Creation book club. We got John Molland. I'm like, John, this is so exciting. I love John.
I'm sad I missed that one too. I'm meant to join it, and then it came around, and I was like absolutely not in a state to join a live stream. And I was like, okay, I'll join it next week.
Why don't you just start feeling better, Emma?
Yeah. What the hell, Emma? Who told you to feel bad anyway? Huh? No, you did that by yourself, didn't you? Yeah.
No, I didn't do it by myself.
You didn't. Who did it to you? I'll beat them up.
I'd rather you didn't.
It was the whale, Mark.
The whale. The shadowy no, the what was that line?
The floating snowy hilltop.
The Phantom.
Yeah.
Man, my head hurts from the whole Phantom thing. That was like,
man, you're making me want to read Moby Dick again, and I have too many things I want to read this summer, and I did not want to add Moby Dick to the list because it's too long.
If you've already read it, actually, I don't think you need to reread it at all. I think you can just listen to the book club. Like,
I'm definitely going to listen to the book club, but I read it in Great Books in college. Because one of the other English professors told my English professor that there's no way you can teach Moby Dick as part of the Great Books course. And she took that personally. And so we all had to read Moby Dick. I'm on the one hand, I'm still pleased at my decision of not reading any classics on purpose or as few as possible. On the other hand, I'm like, how the hell how was I allowed to go through like advanced courses and Catholic high school, junior high and high school partially, and not read these things? That's interesting. That one Shakespeare play, which is good because iambic pentameter actually makes me homicidal. So that was when I was young in particular. I couldn't deal with it at all. Is it easier if you watch it?
I don't know. I've never tried. I actively avoid all that stuff for real. Like actively.
But Shakespeare's really good though.
I have a feeling everybody like, isn't that profound? And I'm like, I don't know, man. It looks like every Tuesday, but like, sure.
But the great thing about Shakespeare is that his people are real normal people.
No,
my legion.
He seems to do a trick, right? Where he's using a bunch of different types of contrast to show something very average and ordinary to you. And I understand that you poor derelict humans need that. But like, it's always been bright and shiny to me. So like, I'm just like I understand what you're doing there, William, but like, why do you need to do this? But on the other hand, it was like, it's so amazing. And I'm like, it's so Tuesday. Like, I don't, maybe that one's Wednesday, but like that one's Thursday. It's not, like, I don't, have you seen
I don't think it's always like super profound, but I do think it's enjoyable.
It might be enjoyable. I mean, I've seen little clips of Shakespearean actors. Like, you notice it's weird, right? Like I was talking with Sarah about this the other day, 'cause she's a classically trained pianist, and she was noting that when she was in bands, the other classically trained musicians can spot the classically trained musicians, dun dun dun, and all the rest of the musicians are oblivious. And I'm like, yeah, right. And I think that's kind of part of it, right? Is that's
it's
very
the
much
same thing. It's definitely the same with like Shakespeare actors.
Right, you can spot a Shakespearean actor, and they bring, for lack of a better term, a certain gravitas, right, to the performance that elevates everybody else somehow, even though they all suck. Which, like, nobody can explain that, and right, and that's one of those things. It's actually the only in programming, the agile way of programming is terrible, except that if you do. If it meets certain criteria, it actually does that to your team. Your team actually gets better. Agile in all their ways is like the absolute worst way to program anything ever. But every once in a while, you'll get a team that's properly mixed, and the team just gets elevated by the agile process. It's kind of inexplicable. So there's things like that in the world where things just get elevated, and you don't notice, or you don't know. And yeah, I mean, I suspect a lot of Shakespeare is just, really exemplification. And I think, I read Julius Caesar, right? So ye block, ye stones, ye worse than senseless things. That's the first line. So that's about all I remember. Like the rest of it's just probably all mixed in with the Latin Romans, retelling of
countrymen.
Caesar.
Lend me your ears. I've come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. The evil that men do lives on, while the good is oft interred with their bones. So let it be for Caesar. The noble Brutus hath said that Caesar was ambitious. If it were so, 'twas a grievous fault, and grievously has he answered for it. And that's where sophomore year of high school ends.
There we go. But that was the only Shakespeare I had to read. And I think that was my sophomore year. Yeah.
Yeah, listen, if you had read Macbeth, you would have known that Shakespeare saw feminism coming 400 years in advance.
Maybe.
It's a fair point.
I don't know.
Where Lady Macbeth literally says, I wish I could go murder somebody. I wish I was a man, and I would unsex myself in order to do this.
Well, that theme is huge. Right there. I mean, yeah, that theme is huge, though, right? That theme, Nero tried to play that out with the gender swap game and all that nonsense. That whole theme is older. The thing about feminism is that, see our video, patriarchy is good, right? Is that it doesn't become a problem until somebody writes something down in the middle of the French Revolution. Just saying, might be a hint there. And they just turn out that everyone's a freaking communist back then. So yeah, that's the root of all this thinking, is the French Revolution, effectively.
So how did the American Revolution escape that?
I have a thesis on that. I think I put that forth in the Frontier of Ideas video, but effectively, let's see if I can summarize the whole thing real quickly for you, Emma. Effectively, the reason why it escaped it is a fluke. The problems that are created by the English Revolution are not evident right away. And because what happens in England is effectively the largest corporate takeover in history of a government, you think that's a danger now. You're just laughably ignorant about history. Because without the East India Company, which is a monopoly and the largest corporation that's has ever existed, and it is huge. It
had its own private army.
The East India Company had the largest standing army in the world. It wasn't just a private army. It was the biggest single army in the world. Yeah, that people have no idea, right? And it's made up almost entirely of contractors, which is another boom. You think contracting is a new concept? No, sir, it is not. But they're the ones that support Parliament. But what happens is the colonies don't actually know that, like, they don't know this happened in a sense, right? They don't have the knowledge. They don't, because they're not there, right? I mean, maybe some of them did, like the ones that were going back and forth, right? But they really didn't understand, like the population in the colonies in North America they really did not understand what had happened. I don't think anybody in England did either, right? It's kind of like the Protestant Reformation, or worse yet, King Henry VIII, right? When nobody understood, like nobody saw a change in the church right away. Same church I went to yesterday, right? It happens over time. Well, this happens over time, and what happens is the colonists know they need a head or a king. They know that it's not an optional. We are not getting rid of the king. They know that, right? But also they need to solve the Protestant problem, right? Which at least temporarily we did, although I think that's actually an illusion and it's all coming crashing down. Different problem, right? But so they instantiate a head and they call it the president, right? And they're stealing all the best.
I was going to say the exact same thing. Is that the difference between the French and English revolutions and the American Revolution is that there was no king to be had.
Right. It's
that's the big difference right there.
Well, that's true, but it's the inverse that's more interesting. The English and the French are trying to get rid of the head, and the Americans are trying to replace it because they know you can't do without it. They already know this. Now, do they know this because it was evident after the English Revolution? Because it was, by the way, but whatever. Hindsight's 2020. So, like, whatever Cromwell did, whatever, if they didn't figure it out right away, maybe they couldn't. That's fine. But like the guys here knew, they're like, no, we can't just do away with hierarchy. We just need to establish a hierarchy with a balancing system. And no one else did that, right? And so the French Revolution is how you get Napoleon. Like, you want a Napoleon? To have a French Revolution, right? You want Stalin? Have a Russian Revolution, because that's how you get a Stalin, right? French Revolution, that's how you get a Napoleon. And then it's inevitable that will happen, right?
Well, Plato said that.
If you want to instantiate, the quote most evil dictator in history, even though he's not by any particular standard, just destroy the food system in Germany and see what happens. And you can do that in any country. And reliably, what will happen is you will get an evil dictator. It happens every single time, historically, right? And the thing was, the guys who started our country knew this, and they were like, "Well, we're not doing that. We're not beheading the king. We are separating ourselves from the sovereign that failed to protect us." And don't listen to anybody from Oxford, by the way, because apparently they don't know their own history, and they lie a lot. But the rest is history thing on this is complete and utter evil propaganda from. I don't know what the hell's going on there at Oxford, but like
Brits who are still sour that.
Oh yeah, well the elites in England, in Europe in general, the elites here have the opposite attitude. Like those guys think that like they actually said this, like, oh, when we were in the United States, everybody, was an American exceptionalist. And I'm like, that's got to be a college and university thing, because nobody in the U.S. doesn't revere Europe. Nobody. We're all Europhiles. We all love the Europeans. We don't even know what Europe is. That's a lot of what Frontiers of Ideas.
My parents didn't have a good cup of coffee until they went to Italy.
Right. But we don't. We have a projection of what we think Europe is, and it's totally wrong.
Europe's a place where you can. I mean, like until recently, Europe was like the place where you could go get a good cup of coffee. Like I think
yeah.
Well, like they've got the tradition and the finesse to do this.
Old buildings.
Right. Well, that's what we want from them, is the historical grounding or the history, and I think it was that preservation of the European, ideal. Plus, we started fresh. Europe had to graft I mean, you have to call it the Dark Ages. You have to call it Enlightenment, right? And you have to understand that the Enlightenment is the light that's brought in by the rediscovery of the Western canon, right? So Europe builds up on Rome and Greece, loses the texts, right? That's the Dark Ages, effectively. Like, they weren't gone, but like nobody had access to them. And then the texts are reintroduced, right? And then in the Enlightenment, what happens? You get basically a brand new space, because the United States is a brand new empty space for the most part, because it's huge. Just huge. Europeans don't understand. Just huge, right? And then we start fresh, like from Plato, right, and from Caesar, and build on those ideas without any of the baggage of tradition
and
from
France
Europe.
couldn't do any of that.
France couldn't do any of that, right? And this might be why. This is why the argument that after 250 years it's all done here. We don't have the burdens of the corrupt Catholic Church on us, but also we don't have the advantages of having, the Catholic hierarchy conveying down from above, right? So that's actually a real problem. Like, one of the big mistakes that Napoleon makes is he crowns himself and forces the bishop to watch, and it's like, well, symbolically that tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah,
you don't
does.
Any more information will not help you. The guy's gonna just ravage and destroy, and that's all he ever does. You already know that's gonna happen. I mean, you knew it before that, but like, that proves that like there's no redemption in that, right? Like, there's no upside to Napoleon at that point, because he's usurped the natural eminent order by making it an emergent order. This is why emergence is not good. This is why I rally against that stuff. But in essence, we only escape, and we only escape for so long, still be my argument. Although I'm still bullish on the U.S. in general, right? But we only escape because we're doing the opposite of what the other revolutions did. That's why I call it rebellion and not a revolution. Because really all we're doing is rebelling against the king and replacing him with another king. Because we understand you need a king, right? But we don't want a centralized king. And so we're going to take the duties of kingship and split them up into three, we'll say, processes of government, right? And actually, I think that, although I'd have to do a lot more research on this, I think it's possible that we invented government, like, as such. Like, in the American Revolution might have invented government as such, right? Because before, government was just what was there, and suddenly somebody comes up with a new. This is the first new form of government in quite a while, I think. Right? Aside from the.
What about the Roman Republic?
Well, yeah, maybe
but that's so old.
Republic. Right? Maybe since the Roman Republic.
But that was also built from scratch after overthrowing a king.
Was the Roman Republic built from scratch after? I don't know about that.
I mean, okay, we don't know where the Roman Republic came from, because all we have is like Livy writing about it.
Yeah.
But in their own understanding of themselves, it was built from scratch.
And they threw off the kings, and then they basically, I mean, oh gosh, do I have this history still? It's like, okay, we've got to throw off the wicked tyrants. We don't have them anymore. And now I think it was basically like 30 families were running things in the city of Rome.
They go to an oligarchy. They don't really go to a republic.
Yeah. And so it's
very gradually gets spread out through repeated peasant strikes.
Yeah.
And the peasants gain more and more power gradually by striking.
Yeah. So it's their republic is not our republic. That's for sure.
It definitely wasn't as like thought out.
No, it wasn't thought out at all. It did develop organically. But I mean, that's what I mean. Like, the first planned government system might be us. It might be. I can't swear to that. I mean, because and it would be the second new form of government, for hundreds of years, perhaps 2,000 years, right? Because Parliament is a new experiment, right? But that's as a result of the beheading of the English king, and then the second new experiment is really us, right? And then France is just a disaster to this day, right? Fifth Republic, there's still nothing but turmoil there. They're still riding on their laurels of being France, effectively, right? They haven't generated anything interesting or new in quite a while. The only thing they have going for them is their nuclear power, which is excellent, and they are the only country. Actually, they might be the only country that can build any large, long-lasting projects anymore. Because we tried to build some nuclear plants here recently in South Carolina, and wasted a few $1 billion on that project because we couldn't get it done. But yeah, and yeah, I know Marcus. Yeah, sure, dude. We didn't build anything from scratch. Nobody built anything from scratch. Turns out there's a creation here first. Hey, where are those lines? I don't know. Yes, we followed the Dutch. We were 10 years after the Dutch on everything. But you notice the Dutch did it and it didn't stick, right? So the Dutch rebelled first. It didn't stick. The Dutch got a constitution first. It didn't stick. Right. And so, sure. But then my argument would be, yeah, well, there's always government experiments going on or political experiments going on. But actually, they deliberately built the government from scratch, and the Dutch never did. Right. And everything they did kind of failed, except for the dikes. Those are wonderful.
Dikes have stayed.
They're working great. They are the best water management and some of the best land management people on the planet. Like there's no question about that, right? And they're really good at shipping. Although I would argue the Greeks have it up on everyone for shipping. But yeah, there's a lot of unique stuff that happened here that really couldn't have happened anywhere else. And that's part of the problem. Like the problem with doing a government from scratch without resources is that you don't have resources. And so even if you started from scratch, like unyoking yourself from, the Portuguese, it doesn't matter, right? Because you're a tiny speck that isn't analogous to us. Like the United States isn't even a country. Right? That's part of the problem. And because we're just so huge, there's no analogous space anywhere else. And so you end up with weirdness.
He's in a trench coat.
Well, I like Colin Woodward's, although I don't agree with his ultimate assessment. I like his nations are different from countries.
Oh yeah, I need to check that out.
You gotta read the book. Got
I have that book. I need to read it.
You just don't understand the United States until you read the book. I didn't. I understood 98% of it, but the last most important 2% was in that book. And
it's a high endorsement coming from Mark.
Sense. Huh?
It's a high endorsement coming from you.
Oh, thank you. No, I mean Vanderklay finally read it and he went, "Wow, Mark was right." And I was like, I don't tell people wrong things when I can avoid it, guys. I spend a lot of time on this stuff. I promise.
I admit, because of your recommendation, I did pick up that book. I may be only like an hour and a half into it or something like that, but it is really interesting how he kind of sections off like kind of the West Coast and kind of like how it's a little bit connected to Mexico still, which makes total sense because I spent 20 years of my life in Los Angeles. And so, I mean, really kind of getting that feel for like, the border actually isn't really the border. And then also driving cross country now, like I live in Pennsylvania, and like just major contrasts with people and the infrastructure and everything like that. It's like, oh yeah, I can see like it feels like a different country for sure.
Oh, wait till you get to the there were two huge things for me. One was the Midwest attitude about large corporations or industrial corporations or whatever, because the relationship there is fascinating, and the public versus private Protestantism, which is almost at the end of the book, which kind of annoyed me, but like, wow, the North-South divide just totally made sense, just completely overnight. Everything that ever happened historically that I knew about in the U.S. between the North and the South, totally clear. Completely unambiguous, but beyond rational, just completely. Well, of course, well, of course there were moonshine people. Of course. Like, how else would this go? Couldn't go any other way, guy, right? Some of the Civil War stuff that cannot make any other sense, although everything in the Civil War is backwards and upside down, really started to make sense when I understood public versus private Protestantism and just the difference there.
Yeah. Well, there's so many interesting things to talk about. But I'll tell you what I'm interested in is I'm interested in seeing the back of my eyelids for hopefully at least 8 hours. So thanks for joining in. Moby Dick Book Club will be going on. Would love to have as many of you contribute in whichever way. Great to have people live, but if you're just going to be watching, watching is fine. And you can learn a lot just from watching people discuss something else. So happy Sunday, good night, and God bless you all.
Good night.